What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. We have a banger of a market watch for you guys here today. Lightning Overdrive has really been dropping in price throughout the weekend, way past what I thought it would take to like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I also see the signs of a buyout happening within there, and we'll talk about the prices that I also missed out on and over/underestimated. Also into the metagame, access code Talker has really spiked along with other rogue and meta options, and I think this is a factor of multiple things. We have the remote dual YCS, people needing to grab cards, Lightning Overdrive giving a ton of support to tons of different decks, meaning that more generic support is something they're grabbing, and a ton of extra decks need specifically this card, even with the Mega Tins looming. You also do have the return to dueling kind of over in EU places, and people looking over here like that, is this a sign? Are we going to get back to it? That's a bit speculatory, but I also do think the signs are there that a lot of restrictions are opening up, and Konami may choose to let certain places, depending on restrictions, start to do that, but we're still waiting to hear on that. But you do see the rush for cards right now within this metagame that's shaking up. Then you do have the ban list on the horizon too. A lot of people figuring stuff like this is super safe thanks to the Mega Tins coming. And you can also use code WhatsGood5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly on these amazing Mega Tin prices over at Gamer's Choice if you haven't got yours already. That being said, the other things are going. We do have Pot of Prosperity. It is leaning upwards a little bit. Motivated sellers around the 100 even mark, but most people at 105 and up now. This is not up for reprint in the Mega Tins, and I could see it start to gain a lot of traction. Tons of people playing this in their decks, and it is the driving force in Blazing Dumpster Fire because there's not a lot of other value within this set. Pretty much the Underworld Goddess in terms of meta. Oh boy, Warrock Mountain really up there, and a format dependent hand trap that still has not seen its format. So yeah, definitely very top heavy. Not a lot of people opening Blazing Dumpster Fire, and super understandable that this is what people are after. Then you have Super Polymerization. I've seen this in so many freaking duels on Dueling Book. Shadol's flexing this the hardest. Last I knew this was around 90-95. It's had so many buyouts. I noticed what I thought it came back down, but it is around 113, 115, and quickly 120 for its highest rarity version. But you have a ton of nice lower rarity versions. Oh yeah, I want to pay 110 extra versus that secret rare. I'll admit, ultis look freaking amazing, and this card was waiting for one forever. I've had the OCG one, but the gold rare freaking slaps. Super poly has a ring to it. You have the ultra rare, which could go up to 5 over time potentially, and the secret rares look really good. So do consider what kind you want to play, how does it match up in your deck, but the ultimate rare, you are paying extra for it right freaking now. Zodiacs have a couple of spikes. Zodiac Whiptail still above 90. That's freaking crazy versus its market price even, but it's had buyout after buyout after buyout. It makes sense. Tiger Mortar's running out of complete quantities on the market for the most part. Very low amounts of sellers. So if you are playing a Zoo deck IRL, this is one of those last pieces that's rather hard to get for the deck, as you don't really have anything below that ultra rare version for your choice. And banless speculation, oh my gosh, Broad Bull, if you get them now, it could come in. I don't think they're going to help a deck that's already succeeding so much. In fact, I would hope they limit Zeus to 1, but whenever we're talking banless, we're talking speculation, especially with cards they still need to sell, even if I'm thinking with my heart. Also, the at Ignister got new support talking about Rogue, and you do see at Ignister Achichi going way up, and also Ignister Island, I think, is around $25 right now, if I'm not mistaken. Not too many other jumps in the at Ignister stuff right now, but still notable that these are spiking, and that is, I believe, its biggest spike in its life for Achichi. Next up, we have Plunder Patrol barely bumping up. I've seen talk about this. There's a buy list group in Facebook, and there was an interesting conversation. I like to go ahead and peek in, and with this one, typically TCG exclusive / premieres don't get printed in the Mega Tins. We saw, you know, they had to reprint Hidden City for Subterrors somewhere else, and you see like Spirals back in the day printed somewhere else. So with this archetype, unless they're breaking that rule in the Mega Tins, which every year's Mega Tins do tend to, there's not a lot in Ignition Assault to reprint, so they could target this, but they also could miss. I think you are actually more of a coin flip than going off off of history on this ending up in there because, yeah, Ignition Assault, very thirsty for value, but both you have Redbeard going up a little in price, Whitebeard notably up in price. Think about the prices, and you do also have lists up in the price. Now, Lightning Overdrive, promise we'll get to this. Black Rose Dragon around 650, a little bit lower than I might have thought with the early clamorings at like 900, 1,000 on Facebook and then pre-sales, but people do want to make those motivated sells, and then you also have the consideration of breaking open the set, your estimated value pulled. It's not the worst in the world, but the value's really not all that there at these prices. I did call Drytron Mu Beta Foth near around 25. It's almost there. I called these to be around 15. I do think I underestimated Administrator Arlecchino, as I said before, and this engine is being suspect to an early buyout as we see Amaze Attraction Horror House really, really low on quantities versus every single other seller, and I think a huge amount of them also sold off of daily the other night. We do see Traptrix Vesiculo also under what I thought it would be. I am shocked, but it is still a specific archetype. Only so many people are going to wait on their back rows and play that kind of a game. This is around, I called 12 to 8. It's almost 12. I called this being 12 to even lower and around 8, and it's almost 12. So I did think Rudy Rose would probably be 15, 16 week one, but it is down there in price too. Diviner of Heralds I called being around 50 to 65 before that first buyout happened, spiking it to 90, but it's already back down to 75 with 77 sellers. I expect competition to heat up, but also people opening this need their buck back, and they need their estimated value pulled, and if it goes under the price of a box, that would be an awkward place for it. Also, notice the sealed, the race to the bottom has continued, and it's almost to $60 a box, where it pretty much should be at this point for the seller. So, very, very interesting results of Lightning Overdrive weekend one, and people really are targeting the Amazement engine, but they're going for the lower end of it first, which is interesting also. Toon Chaos is unrivaled when it comes to a collector rare set, mainly because it's not a deck building set, it's a TCG World Premiere exclusive set where the Konami office got to play with more of this. This brings up a discussion of still collector rare versus ultimate rare, and Pot of Desires ultimate rares around 95, 100 pretty quickly, but you also do have a little bit an interesting buyout happening on this collector rare. The Unlims, way under, understandable, and unlimited collectible, not as fun, but the first edition stamp, the lowest is 90, and it's quickly 150 after. There's been a ton of buyouts on collector rares happening, and I think long-term ultimate rare is honestly the winner, especially when you line it up with other versions, like you have Pot of Greed ulti, Pot of Avarice ulti. It lines up into a collection better than a quote-unquote collector rare, but they're making them look better and better and better. They're getting rid of those factory errors that happened like with Genesis Impact. Ancient Guardians look super clean, even though they're not worth the most, and this has been the biggest target as we're about a year plus out now. I think we're just under a year actually, but with delays happening on Discord, I do look forward to, will this be more of a Fist of the Gadgets, or are we going to end up seeing with King's Court this situation where it really bust out like Toon Chaos, or will it be middle of the road like Shadows in Valhalla? I look forward to the original archetype, so many things inside, but other collector rares aren't doing as hot for themselves. Like we look in here and you see some of the bottom flooring around $20. Coolio was atop the set falling out, and then just the top end collector rares that, you know, they really do look amazing. Skullmeister already under 100 and not the most people speculating on it, as these boxes just fall out in price. You also remember the attempted buyout on Beat Cop to like $50, $60, already back down towards 35. People aren't trying to just barely undercut on these kinds of things, and then the sales rates are horrible on the back end when they truly don't pan out to be great. Oh, she looks like to her guide, she's almost, no. It's not like that, and not a ton of past formats are going to be shoving Beat Cop into their deck, even if you remember playing her, okay? But King's Court is in that interesting position of being a TCG exclusive premier set, and it could go either way. You're gambling. So even if you're using code WhatsGood5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly, I told you guys I am going for this. Consider the many routes it could take in terms of bombing or going super plus. A ton of people also speculating on F-Zero, Utopic Future Dragon, after the Battles of Legend description update did point out Utopia support specifically in here. What if they piece up that structure deck? That is an interesting joke, but I hope it's not a joke. Just give us the structure. Ghost from the Past has been going down in price for the sealed, and many people are, I thought this was a great long-term buy. This was amazing. Well, here's what's happening to the sealed in my opinion. opinion. You actually have the estimated value pull not being there for the set. Let's say you're getting $1,200 on the Dark Magician, you're getting $400 on the Blue Eyes. We're not even taking out fees and shipping and all that kind of stuff, right? We get 360 on the Blackluster Soldier, you get around 260 sure on the Crystal Wing, and 185, my bad, on the Firewall, and you get to $2,405. Wow, that's a lot of money. It's an average of one ghost per case. Some cases won't have any, some will have multiple, some will just have that one. So you have to get to 5 cases to theoretically pull all 5 in the average terms of luck. And this used to be a 125, 130 a display and has just gone down. And this is the first time we're seeing that lottery chase system actually deflate instead of super inflate a set. So let's do some quick maths. There's about 10 displays within a case, right? And so you got to go ahead and see what vendors can get. Shipping is more than a single, right? And then you get to 5 cases, right? Well, those ghost rares alone get to almost half that value. Almost is the key word. And then you look at all these, well, you're only getting around 4 evenly matched per case. You're only getting around 4 Remuses per case. Only around 4 Nefshadal Genius, and you're already down to around $3, $4 on these cards. Yeah, the value's just not there in the singles or even the chase, and people have realized that. They've stopped busting it open and getting hurt. They've gone for the singles instead, and some of these singles, like Dark Magician, had an attempted buyout, and then a fallout. People were starting to list under 1,000. I think it's back to around 1,000. Oh, new listing while it is a newer seller. A new listing while it's a newer seller. A lot around that $1,000 mark, but newer sellers can be scary to somebody that wants like a picture. But they're still lining up at 1,200 here, even under that 1,250 that it was at before the buyout. So crazy things going on with this set. A lot of speculation on how it will go long term. Diamond hands, paper hands, what are you personally doing with it? I'd love to hear, because I can't always clairvoyantly see the future. Not a financial investor channel, but I do think it's still going to super long term for first edition pan out okay for itself, probably up as we see every single March reprint set tends to triple versus its price, but it's almost knocking down the MSRP for the individual packs, and that's pretty funny. Old school collector cards, we've seen secret rare buyouts, we've seen ultimate rare buyouts, we've seen all kinds of crazy buyouts, but the super rares are starting to get a little targeted. Exiled Force first edition lowest is now $50, as this experiences a buyout this weekend. The Unlims do line up much quicker. I think they start around $5 or $6, but Legacy of Darkness, not the easiest to obtain. I pointed out DD Warrior Lady a long time ago, and you see these around $29, $29, $30. They used to list up a ton around 20. There is one motivated top-rated seller around 17, so maybe use that TCG player link in the description down below. Costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly if you want one of these 2 copies. But then it just spikes heavily. There's none of those listers around 20. It seems somebody went in. So we do see some old school supers get targeted, and the question is, where does that stop? Phantom of Darkness is way more recent than either of those old school crazy value sealed sets, but we see Armageddon Knight is around $7 and has been for some time, specifically for the first editions. And I do question, within super meta played cards, past formats being targeted, where does the line end up on super rares? They're way easier to pull, there's way more of them out there, but people have run out of cheap secret rares to target and buy out. People have run out of cheap ultimate rares, and now we are seeing them go for the harder to get, harder to repopulate supers. And then the question is, well, what past formats end up spiking things? What will end up being the next thing? Might be this, but it's also way more in population, so do think about that instead of panicking and running towards things. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed these conversations. What do you think about people going after older school super rares? I think it's somewhat big brain if they got in early, but at the same time, I can't imagine the sales rates are going to be the best either. What do you think about the exploding meta prices between Zoo and this, Rogue things, and then Lightning Overdrive Day 1 as well? Seriously, thanks for watching. You all really made my weekend with the live stream yesterday, and then just everything going on. It's been a wild week, but it's been a really freaking good one thanks to you guys.